Good day, everybody. My name's Todd Standing. Thanks for tuning into my Throwback Thursday show today. This is going to be a fun show. So we're gonna look at some really interesting stuff from video 5, 4, and 8. Someone online did a really cool comparison that just kind of shocked me because the comparison that he did shows something that I saw in real life that can't be duplicated. The video 8 Sasquatch that you see from my movie Discovering Bigfoot, you only see half of his face. I've seen his full face. I saw his full face that day and I've seen it since then. His name is Kubota. And when this person did this, split the face and put it together, that's what he looks like. So we're going to show that today, talk about lots of really exciting stuff, a sighting I've never talked about before, so we're going to get into that. But it's all Throwback Thursday. We're looking back at what's happened before. Stay tuned. It's going to be a real awesome show.
The masters of civilization, my people, sure could learn a lot from the masters of the wilderness, which is who they are.
There's no way that you got sight of a Sasquatch in those areas with those tree breaks, with those tracks, getting those apples taken, with those sounds, all these things.
Alright, let's get right into it. This is what you're here for. What's happened is this person by the name of Cryptid Seeker, I'll give him credit, stole footage. Illegally stole footage of mine and put it up. People do it all the time. What are you going to do? It's the internet. People steal things. But I saw some very interesting stuff in it, and again, his name's Cryptid Seeker, so I'll give him credit for that. But let's have a look at his footage, and then we'll talk about something really important after that. This footage inspired me to remember something else. We're going to talk about the eyes of Sasquatch, which I've actually done quite a bit of research on, based on what I've seen in the field, eyewitness accountings that I've had, and actual measurements and stuff I was able to take based on those sightings, because eye size is it's a very interesting topic to me, and I've done a little bit of work on it just pertaining to gorillas. So gorillas have relatively small eyes compared to us based on body size. We have relatively large eyes, and sclera and stuff like that all come into it. But first, let's get into this footage. So the first thing he says here is, I think Todd Standing's Bigfoot footage could very well be real. We're looking at video 8 that's in my movie Discovering Bigfoot that is totally illegal for him to have. So this is Jake, video 5. Many people say that this footage can easily be a puppet or animatronics. Not. They also say this one could be similarly a hoax, which it isn't. But no one can say the same for this one, and here's why. And I agree with what he's saying here. This supposed Bigfoot blinks rapidly in a very realistic fashion. Watch my documentary, and it's true. I don't think animatronics could do that. Skeptics who try to disprove this footage say that it's a guy with makeup, which is also not possible, because if it's not, then it cannot be a puppet or anything else but a living creature. I agree. So let's see what he does here. And here's why. So this is his little piece of evidence. To see the facial ratios, I had to cut the face in half and then mirror one side to create the full face. This is what was really cool for me, because when he did this, that's what Kubota looks like. That's Kubota. He has a really wide nose. Now we can do some analyzing, and I'm going to talk about the eyes after. But for now, first he marked out the eye, then duplicated it across the face to the other eye. The results were very significant. I agree. I placed the duplicate eyes on the line at the same angle. And what you'll notice is 3 eyes fit between the original, 2 just like in the other Bigfoots. So they match. Now let's compare this to a human in the same angle with the face slightly tilted downwards. Here's our subject at a very similar angle because the Sasquatch was well above me. Now let's outline the eyes. And when we outline the eyes, we see the eyes are lined up in the line. Do you see the difference? I hope you see the difference, because there's only one eye that fits in the middle. Only 1.5 eyes fit between the original 2. That's half of Todd's Bigfoots. Because all 3, video 4, 5, and 8 all apply. This rule shows that it can't be a person makeup. And since it can't be a puppet, what is it? And the answer is, it's a Bigfoot. All of Todd's Bigfoots show the 3-eye trait. Agreed. Quite a few people have done that, and that's very significant. And this is Kubota. Do you think this proves Todd's footage is genuine? Well, the footage will never be proven as genuine until we take this to a new level of technology. We can prove this footage is genuine when they apply a new technology that I've already had my Sasquatch footage applied for. It's called thermal pixelization. It's where they thermally map the temperatures, which can be done from the bandwidth of direct sunlight, to show that that is not a mask. Of course it's not a mask. But it can't even be a human, because the amount of fat and the way the temperatures are different, it just can't be a human. But this is a wonderful, excellent little piece of work I'm very pleased with, because people ask me a lot, well, how come your Sasquatch looks so different? They don't. You're seeing a little portion of them. When they stand up and walk around, their heads are the same, the body is the same. There's facial differences that you're seeing, but even the faces, they have the really wide nose. They have the same eyes. And that's the other thing I want to talk about right now. Something so important. So quite a few years ago, I woke up one morning, or I woke up in the middle of the night to Jake, the Sasquatch, who's Video 5 Sasquatch. He was looking at me. It was late at night. I could barely make him out. But what happened was he was behind. What I saw of him was there was a branch like this and a tree like that. So all I saw of his face was half of his face jutted out. I could see his eye and I could see the branch. And what happened, this was absolutely chilling. I'd like to talk about this just a little bit specifically. So he was making sounds. He was letting me know he's there. This was, let's say, I don't know the time specifically. Let's say approximately 5 o'clock in the morning. So it was a full moon. So there was quite a bit of light, and he just walked in, and made noise and let me know that he was there. And what he did was, I would say he was about only 15 yards away, and I saw that eye peer out and look at me. And I was in my sleeping bag. I was absolutely terrified, shocked to the core that there was a Sasquatch there like that. And he just stood there, and what he did, what I've seen them do many times before and since, is he stood there for hours. I think he moved at around maybe 3 hours later. So I stood off with him, half the time denying that could even be a Sasquatch. All these things go through your head. You're standing there. I was just mind boggled. But every 20 seconds or maybe every minute, I'd see that eye blink. So in the time, sometimes I'd wait maybe 2 minutes before the blink would happen, and I'd be there, and it felt like I was there for days. I'm not gonna lie. He was just looking at me. I was just looking at him, and as the sun came up, I was looking at him, eye to my face, and I wasn't moving, man. I was froze. I was just stiff. My neck kinked up. I remember my body was getting all seized. I didn't know what to do, and I was nowhere near my camera. That was not an option. I thought about it. All these things are going through my head. Get the camera. Should I be, not reach for my gun? That's never really something that goes through my head, because he was not being angry or aggressive or adversarial. He was just there staring at me, extremely patient, extremely calm. And when you think approximately 3 hours that went on for, I can't tell you how unbelievably long that was. But I remember vividly looking at all there were pine needles. It was a Rocky Mountain Douglas fir that he was behind. I could see a lot of them though. There was a big space in that section of the tree, a big space. He knows that tree. He knew where to stand, and this is his home. He knew exactly how to stand, how to move. I couldn't see his body hardly at all. Maybe there were times I would look over at it, but I tell you, that eye looking at me, I was just mesmerized at that. I would very rarely take my look away from him. But I remember exactly how high that eye was. That's where I got the first impression of he was approximately 8'6". Jake at the time was about a 16-inch track. I assume he was approximately 16 years old. And just a little over 16 inch was his track. I assume he was over 800 pounds. and approximately maybe 8'6" is what I had him tagged into about this time. So that day I measured a track of his as well that confirmed it was about 16 1/4 inches long. His dad is about 17 1/4 inches long. Jake grew into that 17 1/4 or maybe a little more actually, almost 17 1/2 inch track. Jake's a beast. He's an absolute beast. Just healthy and thick. His hair looks amazing. His skin is just brilliant. But what happened that day that ended that standoff is I moved to turn over to get up, and he just was gone. I think it took me about 3 seconds. I had to shift. My body was kinking. And when you shift and you do it fast, you shift and you move quickly. As soon as I made that shift to move, I saw that he wasn't there anymore. And I had a good look and I was like, okay, he's definitely gone. So then I reached for my camera and stood up and just like not gone, like disappeared, absolutely nothing. He left me a couple tracks that a tracker could make out. I wouldn't say good tracks, but some tracks that he left purposely for me to see that I got to measure. And then I took a lot of time and energy to go up to get myself. I had to build up some rocks. I filmed this, but this was the expedition where I dropped the camera while filming in a river. I've talked about that other times. You can look that up, or we'll talk about it again some other time. But so that footage was all gone. But I had my trusty tape measure with me. And this is what we need to talk about today. This is the other thing I want people to know. When they're measuring all these eyes, they're doing Jake's eyes and stuff. So what I measured that day and what I came to the conclusion of is Sasquatch's eye, the size of their eye. Because I knew exactly, believe me, when you're staring off at a Sasquatch for 3 hours, I got up to that spot where the Sasquatch was, and I only saw maybe just a hint of his nose, but I could see that eye at all times. I knew exactly where it was. So I couldn't take measurements. I didn't know what a human eye was. I now know a human eye is approximately 25 millimeters, which is approximately an inch, ironically enough. And I got the Sasquatch's eye to approximately, what did I have it at? 38 millimeters. So that is approximately an inch and a half. So the significance of this, the very, very important significance of this is first of all, it's a huge eye. That's huge. And I'm saying 38 millimeters, an inch and a half, and I'd say plus or minus 2 millimeters. I worked hard for that. I fought for that. I worked hard for that. I had photographs of that tree, which I had photographs because I had a still camera with me at the time. And I had and I was using the image on my still cam to take photographs of myself to measure up where Jake was and where his eye was. I took a lot of time because I knew how important that would be. How many times in your life are you going to get an opportunity like that where you can actually get that chance to measure the eye? And I was I was starting to work with biologists and PhDs, and they kept pushing me for weights and sizes and measurements. So I got that. It's not the best for height of Jake. It's pretty good. I mean, you need that sagittal crest. You need that bump on the top of his head to really get it. So my size approximation, I got it much better on the day that I filmed video 5. But for that standoff, it was really, even the head, I can't say how big the head was because the tree was thick. I couldn't see the other side of his head. But the eye, I had a vivid, awesome look at the eye. So to understand now that gorillas for sure have smaller eyes than human beings. And I know from Kubota's footage, there's no sclera that I saw in Kubota. It's just black. His eye is just like jet black. And a lot of, most gorillas, I think about 70% of gorillas have black eyes like that. So no visible white of the eye, we'll call it. We're not going to get too scientific because if Jeff Meldrum is listening, he'll know what I mean by the whites of the eyes, and the rest of us that are just laymen won't get into the sclera and the pupil and iris and all those awesome terms that they use. But very, very, and I would really, I'm gonna hold to that so profoundly. That's the size of their eyes. So I guess in proportion to their body size. So if humans have, let's just say 1 inch eye, our eyes are 1 inch, and Sasquatches are 1.5 inches. That means their eyes look small compared, even though their eyes are bigger than ours. So that this comes up in these comparisons, right? People are saying, well, eyes, that's not a human eye. That's not by any length of, now we've shown Again, in video 8, there's no arguing. That's not a bloody mask. The argument would be somebody in makeup, but the eyes can't fit. So now it can't be a human. It's way out of proportion, guys. Way out of proportion. I'm done with this whole, these are Sasquatch. Don't take my word for it. Come out with me and I will show you a Sasquatch. That's what I have in response to you saying, no. The people that say that. Most of you that are listening, though, are fans, a lot of you are colleagues, and we're working towards using this footage to get the protection, get the recognition, because for me, this footage goes with the DNA. It goes with me showing Survivor Man and Jeff Meldrum and John Bitternagel a Sasquatch, taking them out, showing them Sasquatch. It goes right along with that stuff. So it's just another piece of evidence. How am I getting the DNA? How am I getting tracks that match up with everybody else? How am I showing people Sasquatch? How dare I say, I'll take you out and show you a Sasquatch. I mean, it's not crazy talk. I do this. I have expeditioners, 20 people coming out this year. You know, more than half of them have already been out multiple times with me. So I'm building colleagues. I'm building a cooperation. I'm taking people and training them to go work in Oregon, Utah, Washington State, discovering Bigfoot research centers all across North America, not into Mexico, because that terrain is, forget about it. It's not going to happen. No disrespect. It's just Texas is about as far south, and Florida even. But the people doing Texas I can help with. Florida in the swamps, whew, not going to happen for me. But it's really important to make these deductions and have this knowledge with these eyes. So and now I'm throwing that out there. This is my theory based on what I saw. Even this is my hypothesis. This is my, how do we even put it? This is according to my eyewitness accounting. That's the best way to explain it. This is my eyewitness accounting. The best measurements I can make, I say, are 38 millimeters. And I'm sorry, guys, I have to use metric because I'm not doing 1/8 of an inch and 1/4. So for those of you who use the United States, the standard system, the imperial system, it's 1.5 inches. But I'm going to say plus or minus a millimeter. A millimeter, guys, is a millimeter. Look it up. Sorry. So, in fact, 38 millimeters, it'd be hard for them to be 40 millimeters, right? That's a tough one to swallow, but I have to have that degree of error, and it is possible. So I'm going to say plus or minus 2 millimeters, and that's my extrapolations. So what else can we deduce based on knowing their eyes are different? And really, I think the answer is not much. That their eyes are bigger. It's important for this video, though, to understand that when they're putting human proportion eyes in there, it's not. I'm saying 50% larger than a human being's eyes. So, and I'm telling people that have seen a Sasquatch, when you think their eyes are small, they're more along the lines in proportion with gorillas. Think about that. So isn't that very impressive? But it'll do us no, there is no, you can have a hawk with tiny eyes or a mountain lion that can see extremely well at night. Eye size is, there's a giant squid has the biggest eye in the world. The blue whale has an enormous eye. How well do they see? So it really doesn't do us any good because we don't know about the cones, the rods, the biology of the eye. We don't know. There's so much that we don't know, and there's so much deduction that needs to be. It just requires further information, and we're really not there. Remember, there is no Bigfoot expert out there. There isn't one because we've never had a body. We're not doing anatomy, and that's all going to happen one day. Hopefully, in the same way they're doing research with the Skywalker gibbon. When you can find a Skywalker gibbon that's expired due to natural causes, then take a body, then do your analysis. Until then, the populations are too low, and if not ethical, as scientists, as people that have any kind of moral code, it's not ethical to go shoot, especially one of these hominids, because they're people, and you'll start a war with them, and it's completely unethical. So we need to get there, and we can get there based on other methods. So just one thing I'd like to leave you with too is the reason I really did this. I'm going to show this footage again. Is that's how wide Kubota's nose looks. That's what was awesome, is when he split that screen. That's what Kubota looked like. That's how wide his nose is. That's why, to people that just saw the movie and they saw that half of his face like that, or even that maybe 3/4 of his face, you're just not getting the perspective of what his nose is huge. So, and I even feel like when I was looking at Jake that day, I felt like his eye was big, but I wasn't really seeing it in proportion to the rest of his body. But when you're only 15 yards away, it's awfully close. Awfully close. And I just couldn't get it out of my head that that was a large eye. And the shape was Jake's eye. Jake's eye looks, I have to admit, looking at Kubota in comparison to Jake, Jake's eyes seem to be more rounded, and Kubota seemed to have that pinch. And then you look at it, Kubota is, let's talk about this. I never even thought about this. This is just going through the top of my head. So we know that there's human DNA in Sasquatch, female mitochondria DNA. What you're going to get, obviously, though, and Kubota's a weaker, smaller Sasquatch. He's got more of a human-looking eye. More of. It's leaning more towards that. I mean, we can look at our own. Remember, people, like Chinese people have different eyes than Oriental people have different eyes than I do. So you can have that phenotype. Doesn't mean any kind of subspecies. I'm very convinced Kubota is a Sasquatch. His body shape is so similar. Like you put me next to a Chinese man, and maybe my body's larger, but actually it wouldn't be. Some Chinese people are as large as me, or Japanese people. Their eyes and their face looks noticeably different, but their body shapes is what really ultimately makes them human, their anatomy. And that's what Kubota has. But Jake, who is bigger, definitely bigger, stronger, thicker, more muscular, and a more dominating Sasquatch, I think Kubota's older. In fact, I know Kubota's older. Kubota has a receding hairline, for goodness sake. Kubota has that older man look to him. Kubota is 8'4", 8'6". Jake grew to 9 feet tall. So now what I'm getting at, though, and this is amazing, is maybe with more human traits, you become smaller. You become receding hairline. Jake, I've never seen a big dominant Sasquatch with a receding hairline. In fact, that's the only receding hairline I've ever seen was on Kubota. So maybe Kubota has more of the human DNA with him. Maybe Kubota's not breeding. Maybe Kubota's and human DNA is getting bred out, and that would make sense, because human DNA is going to be much weaker. So, and of course, there are going to be people that have more Chinese DNA, more Japanese DNA, more African American DNA. And there's going to be separations and difference. Maybe that's Kubota's not from this group. And even one last thing I want to throw out there. Maybe that's why Kubota's kind of cranky, a little pissy. Because he's got those human kind of traits and you know, more aggressive, more warlike. I know these things about Kubota. Kubota is hostile. If Kubota could get at me, Kubota would hurt me. So Kubota's never alone, though. Kubota's part of the Wild Bunch troop that I study in Radium. He's never alone. He's always around with somebody else, and he's never at the forefront of things. Even this day, there was a Sasquatch that was around and stopped Kubota and mostly interacted with me more than Kubota did. It's just I got that piece of footage. It just turned out that way. So anyways, lots of cool stuff to think about. What a fun video this was. See, I'm just throwing it right off the cuff here, right off the, completely spontaneous. I love it that way. So thank you very much for tuning in. Gonna have a fun video for Sunday and lots of awesome things to talk about on Wednesday live. Stay tuned. Thank you very much, and take care of yourselves.